Someone give me a thumbs up and I'll know. I guess Laura can give us a thumbs up when they've. Are they on? Good morning, Logan. I'm Sam Anthony. I'm Special Assistant to the Archivist here at the National Archives in Washington. And I want to welcome you to our house. We are in the Rotunda here in Washington, D.C., and this is our specific Rotunda. And in this special room, we have a document I know you want to see. Come over here and let's have a look at it. By the way, Logan, I've been here for 25 years. I love my job, and I can't wait for you to see this. We're going to get right up and close here. We're going to have a look at the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence is 240 years old, and right now I am standing 1 foot away from it, buddy. It is amazing. Let's see if you can have a look yourself. It's kind of tough to read. It's written on an animal skin. It's either a goat skin or a sheep skin, poor animal. It's 24 inches wide and 29 inches tall. And it's amazing. And I gotta tell you, I know it's kind of tough to read at the top, but let me tell you what some of it says. Right here at the very beginning, it says, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. Logan, that's a great way of the Americans telling King George III, the King of England, that we were about to break up with him. And then they said this wonderful thing. Written in there, it says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Logan, that's what makes America great. Those simple words right there, that idea of independence and writing it down makes it so cool. Let me tell you a bit more about this Declaration of Independence. I've seen it almost every day I've been here for the past 25 years. It never ceases to amaze me. And we get over 1 million visitors a year. But you're special because it's just you and me in this rotunda all alone. I gotta tell you, every day we open at 10 a.m. and the place is packed, but it's just you and me in here. In fact, I'm gonna ask our cameraman to kind of look around. You'll see how quiet it is. Look, we got the whole room to ourselves, man. This is cool. This is what I like about my job. You and me, Logan. So let's go back as we slowly go back to the Declaration. Let me tell you a little more about it. The Declaration of Independence is on this one page of animal skin, and it's only 1,400 words. But what's amazing about the Declaration is what it's about. At the beginning, we call the preamble. The Declaration is explaining, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for us to break up with King George III. And then we explain why. For most of the document, the founding fathers listed 27 grievances, basically 27 complaints they had about King George III and how he was running the colonies. And then at the very bottom, I think one of the most amazing moments when I read this, it says at the bottom, we therefore, these representatives of the United States of America, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, that these united colonies are and right ought to be free and independent states. It's amazing. We put it in writing. No other country in the world, no other nation had done this before. And then it's tough to read, but at the very bottom, you can barely make out their signatures. And if you really look closely, my friend with the camera will show you there's a handprint there on the bottom left. We're not quite sure where that came from, but I bet it happened before it came to the National Archives. This document has traveled all around the country, Logan. First, it was in Philadelphia, where Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, John Adams, Sam Adams, so many other people, including some people from Connecticut signed it. There's a gentleman named Roger Sherman. Does that name ring a bell? And Samuel Huntington, and William Williams, and Oliver Walcott were the 4 men from Connecticut that signed the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. But the Declaration has been loved, and so many people have wanted to look at it and see it, that it's fading away. It was not only in Philadelphia, but every time the British would threaten the colonies and would move their armies, the Declaration and all the men would move. The Founding Fathers, they'd move to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, to York, Pennsylvania, to a place in New Jersey, to Annapolis, to Baltimore. And then finally it settled here in Washington, D.C. What you may not know is as you look at this document, back in the War of 1812, the British were coming and threatening. We were at war again with the British. And of all things, in 1814, the British were coming to burn down Washington. Well, some clerks from the State Department took the Declaration of Independence and a few other documents and hid it out in a farm in Leesburg, Virginia. It's about an hour northwest of here. And they hid it, and then when the British burned down the city and left, they brought the documents back, and this country still lived on. It was amazing. Now, for a while, during World War II, from 1941 to 1945, this document was taken from Washington and hidden in Fort Knox, Kentucky. I don't know if you've heard of Fort Knox, but it's a great big army post, and they've got a very big bank vault where they keep a bunch of gold and other important stuff, and this was there. Amazing. Finally, it came back, and in an official ceremony in 1952, this document, along with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which are over there, were brought here and they were put on display. So Logan, we've only had the Declaration of Independence in this building since 1952. But let me tell you some cool things about how we're taking care of it, so all the citizens, all the kids like you can come see it. First off, bulletproof glass. Yeah, if someone who was crazy wanted to come in with a gun, ping, the bullet would bounce off. Wouldn't work. So there you go. Inside of there, if cameraman can show you, that's actual gold. We have gold and titanium and other precious metals built around the document. And inside of it, there's no oxygen because that is an animal skin. It's an organic. And we don't want to have little bugs or microbes or bacteria coming in there and eating away at this skin. So what we've done is we put argon gas inside of there. Yes, argon. So we couldn't breathe in there, you and I, Logan. If we go inside, we're in a lot of trouble. But here it is on display. Now you may wonder, Logan, why is it so tough to read? Why don't we fix that? Well, our science isn't that good yet. We haven't quite figured out how to make that ink legible, but I'm hoping you can help. So if you're interested in science, I want you to keep studying science and talk to your friends and talk to other people, because maybe you can help solve a way to make this legible again. Some people ask me, why don't you write with ink today and write in where all the gaps are? Well, then it wouldn't be the original Declaration of Independence, buddy. It would be 21st century ink that we have today mixed in with 18th century skin and ink. And we want to keep it just like it is, because you know and I know this is the real thing. Because you and I are in here all alone and we can look at it. And let me see if we can get another close-up so we can just have you look at it from start to finish. And Logan, if you want, I know it's kind of tough to read like this, but on our website, archives.gov, we have taken a digital scan of this. And it's really high resolution. So you and your mom and your friends and family can go to our website and look at the Declaration that we've scanned and make it bigger so you can read all the words, even the tough ones in here. And better yet, one of my colleagues took the time to make a transcript. Yes, we typed it all out. So with the Declaration, we have it all written up. So even if it's too difficult for you to read some of the faded parts, you can still read what we've typed out. You see the handprint down there in the bottom left, pal? Isn't that something? And you can barely make out right here John Hancock's signature. Barely see it. But we're hoping one day someone's going to find a way to make this legible again. But in the meantime, we're going to keep it just like it is. And we've kept the room nice and dark, and it's nice and cool in here, because that's good for taking care of records. Well, I thought what we could do is why don't we go over and have a look at another document. You're going to get a treat. Not only am I going to show you the Declaration, but I'm going to show you the Constitution as well. you're getting a real show here. Now, what you might not know, Logan, but I'm telling you, and only you, is a guy named Timothy Matlack from Pennsylvania was the one who actually wrote the Declaration of Independence. Yeah, with his own hand. It took him like 3 weeks to do it. But he had a feather, and he would dip the feather in ink, and he would write that way. And it took him a long time, but he did it. So when we come look at the Constitution, this was written 11 years later. The Declaration was written in 1776, and this was written in 1787. It's on the same kind of animal skin, written with the same kind of ink, and Logan, written by the same guy. Yeah, Timothy Matlack was brought back to write this. So as you can tell, the Constitution is in great shape. Do you notice how nice it looks? All the words are clear. It's written in cursive, but it's really in great shape. We don't really know why, buddy. You know, the National Archives, we weren't created here until 1935. And our job is to take care of federal government records. And we got a lot of them, buddy. We have over 13 billion paper records, over 50 million photographs. And I mean billions of electronic records, emails and all that kind of stuff, all related to the federal government. So what's the federal government? Well, you got NASA going up into space. You have the United States Navy with their ships all over the seas and under the ocean, their submarines. You have the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines. You have the Department of State, the Department of Commerce. You have the White House. You have the Supreme Court and all the other federal courts. We have over 270 government agencies, bureaus, and departments, over 2 million federal government workers, and 1 million who serve in the military. And we take care of all their records. And remember, you and I are in here all alone looking at this stuff because I love my job. And I hope you love this as much as I do. So let's go back and look at the Constitution. Do you see at the very top there? We the people. What a great way to start off a document. If the Declaration of Independence was about us breaking up from King George, then the Constitution, this 4-page document, is the rules of our club, the rules of our nation. It says, we the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union. Well, here's how we do it. We write out our laws, our ideas about how we're going to govern this nation. This first article, Article 1, it almost goes on for 2 pages. It's about the House and Senate, what we call the legislative branch. Oh no, let me see if I can show at the very bottom of this page, Logan. Even great men from history, and women, but mostly men, make mistakes. We do. That's what men are. I don't know if you can see, but there's some smudge marks at the bottom. When Timothy Matlack wrote this, he actually made a boo-boo, and what he did was with his thumb and some other stuff, he kind of smudged it out and then started writing again. Can you see it? Isn't that something? So even on a document as important as this, we have mistakes. That's the way we are. As we go on to the next page, more fancy handwriting, and then there's Article 2. Article 2 is about the president and the executive branch, and it tells you about how old you need to be to run for president, how you are to be elected, and that kind of stuff. Article 3 is about the federal courts, the Supreme Court. But I think the best part, I mean the coolest part of the Constitution is right here. Article 5, the 5th article. It's so brief, my friend, but what's cool about it is the guys who made this Constitution realized that no man-made law is absolute. No law that we men and women can come up with will ever stand the test of time. There'll always be an example, a mistake, a one-off, something. So they basically said, you can create an amendment which will override this. And that's great, because this allows for change. I gotta tell you, Logan, change is essential in life. When I was diagnosed with cancer 11 years ago, I felt pretty sorry for myself, and I felt scared, and I felt angry, but then I thought, I've got to change the way I think. And I listened to my doctors, and I relied upon my wife and my daughter, and I have 2 dachshunds, 2 little dogs, and I petted them a lot, and I got to feeling better. But then I learned about cancer, and I started understanding that maybe there's a chance. I can survive, and with what time I do have, I'll make the most of my life. And since then, You know, I've had 6 surgeries, I've had chemotherapy, I've had radiation. I kind of talk funny because they keep cutting pieces of my mouth out of me, my tongue, about a third of my tongue's missing. But I've changed. I've learned how to talk. I've learned how to keep cool and keep calm and not get too scared. And I've learned to make every day special. And I gotta tell you, buddy, today is the highlight of my life. To be with you right now, talking about these documents, is way beyond cool. So, let's see if we can look at the signers here on the Constitution. I don't know if you can see, but the top of this column over here is George Washington. Yeah, the man, our first president of the United States. He was a successful general which helped gain our independence when we fought the British, but there's his signature, G. Washington. And if you look closely, you can see there's New Hampshire, there's Massachusetts, there's Connecticut, and so we have Roger Sherman. You can see some signatures there of some of the guys. It's kind of tough to read. But you know what, writing in cursive, it's kind of tough for me to read as well. I like things when they're written, you know, in typeface version, like you see in a newspaper or on the internet. Believe it or not, Logan, there are some kids today who aren't being taught how to read and write in cursive, so they can't read this document, buddy. But this document is also on our website, so if you want to go, you can look at it all you want, take your time, and we even have a transcript so you can read beside it the fancy cursive words. We have it written out in type, yeah? So let's go from the Constitution to another fun document. What we have here is the Bill of Rights. So if the Declaration was our way of breaking up with King George, saying we want out, and the Constitution was our way of saying, all right, let's make up our own rules for our club, for our country. What we have here, the Bill of Rights, is an offshoot of the Constitution because the 5th article, remember, allows for change, allows for amendments. Here are the first 10. Now, buddy, have a look here, because unlike the Constitution, this document kind of looks like the Declaration. It's also written on animal skin. I honestly don't know who wrote this one, but the handwriting looks a little bit different. But also it's kind of faded, it's kind of dirty. Look over there, the documents, the animal skin is dirty. It's, the handwriting is a bit faded. It's tough to read, but we have it and we're taking care of it. Again, bulletproof glass, gold and titanium and no oxygen inside of there. And in here, Logan, are the important amendments which affect you and me even today. The First Amendment, the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the right to assemble. The Second Amendment is basically about the right to bear arms, the right for Americans to have a weapon. The Third Amendment isn't really talked about much anymore. It deals with the fact that it says no government can force we Americans to have troops put onto our houses and then we have to feed them. That was a complaint we used to have with the British back then because see, the British would come along and see up in Connecticut, you know, people who were living there before you, the British would come in and they'd say, all right, you're gonna put these 4 soldiers in your house, you're gonna feed them. Well, then Logan, you'd be kicked out of your bed and this big British guy would be snoring in your bed and eating all your food. That wasn't really fair. But, you know, there it is, the Third Amendment. Most people don't talk about it today because we don't do that anymore. But there they are, the important records. With some of the time I have left, I wanted to show you a bit around this room. I wanted to have some fun with you about some of these works of art. But first, I'm gonna make the cameraman look up. So I hope you don't get dizzy, but we're gonna look up. And we have this big ribbon here. Yeah, it's kind of fun, but look up how top. Look at the top of our rotunda. And this ribbon is leading us to a new exhibit. We don't have time to go see it today, pal, but one day soon, if you want, we can. This is a ribbon which lists over 11,000 proposed amendments which never passed Congress. See, total in our country, we have 27 amendments. You just saw the first 10, but there are 27. But this ribbon is a list of all 11,000 of them over time. It's kind of cool. But I'm gonna bring the camera in here because I want to show you the top of our room. I'm gonna see if you can guess how high this room is. Because when John Russell Pope, the architect, designed this building, he wanted it to be a temple to democracy. He wanted to kind of show off this room and these documents. So cameraman, let's go up. Let's see how high it is. All right, Logan, I'll tell you what, I'll make it easy for you, buddy. It's only 75 feet to the top. Yeah, it looks a lot higher because the camera shows you those octagons, those 8-sided shapes that are built into the ceiling there. They're purposely made smaller to make it appear like it's getting higher up. So think about it, 75 feet, okay, that's about 23 yards. Tom Brady, that's a pass from the 23-yard line into the end zone. Heck, 75 feet, that's not even from home plate to first base in professional baseball. So if you were watching a Boston Red Sox game and someone hit the ball and tried to run to first base, they wouldn't even make it the whole way. It fools a lot of people how tall this is. Let me show you something really cool. I'm gonna have the cameraman stay here while I go over here and show you the largest bronze doors in the world. There they are, Logan. These doors were built to show off. They're over 35 feet tall. The doors are 11 inches thick and they weigh 6.5 tons each. And every morning, the doors used to open and they would go into the walls. Our building is so cool, Logan, because our building has walls that are 3 feet thick. And it was the columns we have outside, these big, fancy, big columns. Each one of them weighs 95 tons each. We have 6 dozen of them. Yeah. So this building is almost like a fort. What better way to protect those important documents, right? So these doors used to open every morning and the public would come in. But the problem was, see that glassy area up there? Well, when the doors would open, all this natural light would come in here, and sunlight is bad for old records. So I encourage you, Logan, when you take care of your own papers and your family paper and your history, try not to leave it out in the sunlight for too long, because sun is bad for skin. Radiation, my skin, when I had radiation treatment, it got a little wrinkly and red and peeled and all that kind of stuff, but sunlight can do that too, if you get a sunburn, and it's also bad for the skin. That's one reason why some of these documents are faded. But I'm telling you, those doors are cool, aren't they? Really big. And look at the artwork in this building, pal. Look at the floors. They're made of marble. All these different colors. You've got a gray one, a pink one, a red one. All these different colors. And every day tourists come in here, but these floors hold up pretty well. And when I'm alone sometimes, I do this. I try to do a dance maneuver. I used to do theater when I was a kid, so I try and dance on occasion. So the security guard, we're gonna look over at security guards. They're looking at me like, what the heck is Sam doing? He is a nut. Sam is a nut. Because yes, I am. Logan, before we end the tour, and I'll see if we have any questions, I wanted to tell you one thing we do here 3 times a year is we have slumber parties in this room for kids between the ages of 8 and 12 years old. We only accept about 100 people total because that's all they can fit in here. And before we had our very first slumber party ever, I was in charge of it, and the Archivist of the United States, the boss, my boss, said to me, Sam, let's figure out if this Rotunda is good for kids to sleep in. So yours truly slept right here on December 23rd of 2013. So it's just interesting how about 3 years ago, I was right here. Logan, I gotta confess something to you. This floor is very hard. Marble is not the best way to sleep, and I found that out the hard way. So if you come here, make sure you bring an air mattress, bring a sleeping bag, and for heaven's sakes, bring a pillow. Well, I hope we have a chance to catch up later, Logan. I've been talking your ear off for a bit, and I showed you some stuff here, but I thought what we could do is I could say not goodbye and not farewell, but as they say in France, au revoir, until we meet again. Thank you, my friend. Take care of yourself, and I hope to hear from you soon.
FaceTiming with Logan. Sam.
Hey.
Hey, thank you. This is Logan, Sam.
Hey. Hey, Logan. You're looking great, buddy.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Sam. That was really amazing.
My pleasure. You want to call back anytime? Be glad to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Call back anytime. I'll give more of a tour.
Okay.
All right.
God bless.
Thank you.